Hey, speaking of distractions, the third chapter is what we're up to of Hilchos Talmud Torah, where the Rambam goes on and on about the great, powerful, and awesome secrets that learning Torah does for us, and how it arms us and makes us better people, etc., etc. We are up to number 8. So halacha 8 in chapter 3 of Hilchos Talmud Torah says, Kasav Torah. Here we go. Remember how we said that this parak was all about famous sayings from Shas? So here we pluck one from Maseches Eruvin. It says, Lo Bashamayim Hi. Maseches Eruvin brings down the pasuk on Daf Nun Hey. It says in Parshas Vayelech, Lo Bashamayim Hi, V'lo Me'ever Layam Hi. Okay, the Torah, well, the psukim are telling us how accessible the Torah is to us. And it says it's not up in the heaven and it's not across the sea. So the Gemara darshans, lo bashamayim hi, lo bagase ruach hi mitzuya. When it means it's not in heaven, it doesn't mean, well, it does mean literal, because that's what the point of the Torah is. It's giving a geographic destination. But the Talmud picks up and learns it, meaning allegorically, it's not in people who think that they're like in heaven. That's people who are haughty. All right, that's what agase ruach is. And it's not with those people who travel across the sea. What does that mean? It's not with those people who travel. What kind of people, at least back then, traveled across the sea? Those are what we call today businessmen. So Torah is not found in businessmen, meaning, and the Rambam quotes from the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that says, "Lo kol hamarbe b'schora machkim." This is not one of the more well-known lines, although it is in the same Mishnah that ends off by saying, "B'makom she'eni shishtadel lihiyosish." Right, that line we all know basically means that you got to step up sometimes. But right before that, it says one of the sayings by one of the Tanaim is that not meaning just because you're involved in business means that you're smart. In fact, it's the opposite, right? Not everyone, right, who is marba b'schora, involved in a lot of business, will become wise. So what does that mean? That means that Torah is not found in those people who are too busy traveling and worrying about their needs of this world, okay, and they push off the beauty and the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Okay, so that's what this specific line means in Pirkei Avos. Okay, and the Rambam ends off by saying, "B'tzivu chachamim have a ma'at be'esek va'asuk b'Torah." As we said yesterday and many, many times, so although sometimes the Rambam does, emphasize the importance of working, but that's working as opposed to doing nothing. But when it comes to contrasting it against Talmud Torah, you always want to do a much heavier Torah ratio versus work. That's called Memayit Be'esek V'asik B'Torah. Okay, although a lot of these halachas may sound repetitive, but there's a reason why the Rambam, plucks a little bit from here, a little bit from there. He gets like a rhythm going. Here he says in halacha tes, Divrei Torah nimshalo kamayim. Torah is compared to water, right? We all know that sometimes when the pasuk says water, right, it is just a comparison to Torah, meaning it's an allegory for the word Torah. Shenemar horkol tzama l'chulamayim. Those who are thirsty can go and get water. Okay, lomer lacha mamayim. So we're comparing the Torah to water. What physical characteristics does water have? And of course, the Rambam takes this from several Gemaras. He says, "Ma mayim ena miskansin b'makom midron ela nischal ma'alav." Right, water, right, You'll never find a puddle of a water on a slope up. You're always going to find water on a slope down, right? Thanks to gravity, it always collects, right? We say water seeks its own level, and it settles in a low place, right? B'mkom eshboren, ashboren is a low place. Kach divrei Torah. So, what does a low place and a high place mean? Ah, so that's what we said a minute ago about being bashamayim, someone who places themselves in a very high or haughty place. Okay? Ela bedaka ushval ruach. Torah is not found in gase ruach, velo belev kol gvalev, and not in those who are very proud, right, and think that they've accomplished a lot and know everything. Ela bedaka ushval ruach. You know where Torah gets acquired? People who are humble and meek, and barely scrape by to get by. Shemisabek ba'afar talmidei and people who literally roll in dust of the Talmidei Chachamim. Umeser hataivos v'ta'nuge hazman nelibo, people who take away their desires and their ego and their love for earthly things. V'osa malacha b'chol yom ma'at, right? They forget about, right? It's only people who spend. It's found in people that do a minimal amount of work just to get by, to earn enough. Remember how we said yesterday, pas, right? Pas b'mayim tochal b'kita, right? Mayim b'misora, right? Just a measured amount of food, right? Forget the side dishes, just the main course. No, right? No dip, no hummus, right? No fancy wine, right? Just the basics: water and bread, right? V'osa malacha b'chol yom ma'at k'tei chayav, just enough to get by. Im lo hayalo ma yochalu sha'ar yom v'leil yasik b'torah. Just You should work just enough to earn your livelihood. If you have nothing to eat, don't borrow money. Just get yourself by. And then once figure out that your allowance is fulfilled and you have your 5 days, your $5 a day of food, that's all you need, and the rest of the time you should be learning Torah. Again, very, very difficult, idealistic, meaning how about working extra to put away for your children, for your 529A college plan, or for your Roth IRA, being that it's tax day today, right? All the things that we're told to do, right? You have to just forget about and live 1,000 years ago and just try to live in the idealistic world of the Rambam, which may be sometimes difficult, but nevertheless, we're here for the ride. Okay, number 10. So, because he said before that you should at least work to eat food, right? Or to make a living to support yourself. So the Rambam says in number 10 in Halacha Yud, Kol HaMesim Alibo Sheyasik B'Torah, V'lo Yaseh Melacha, V'Yisparnas Min Hatzdaka Harei Zechil As Hashem. So the Rambam veers off and he says, now that I mentioned it, if you basically come to the conclusion that all you should do is learn all day and say, you know what, I'm reading the Rambam and it's so important, and you know what, I'm not even going to work. So how are you going to pay rent, right? How are you going to pay grocery bills? Well, God will provide. You know the joke about God providing and the father-in-law, right? So that's kind of what the Rambam is saying. God will not provide. Not only will God not provide, Harei Zechilas Hashem Ubizas Torah, right? You're doing the opposite. If you're relying on tzedakah, either from the gabbai or from other people or from making it someone else's problem, you're being mavaz of the Torah. Horrible, horrible thing. The kiba me'or hadas, you're doing the opposite. Your mechabe means to extinguish. You're extinguishing the fire of Torah. The garam ra la'atzmo, you're causing bad to yourself. And natol chayiv mina olam haba. Wow. And you're taking away your olam haba. Why is that? Because think about it. What are you doing? Says the Rambam, Lafisha Asr Lahanos Medivrei Torah Ba'olam Haza. You're saying yourself, I'm learning, I need to be supported. So in a kind of an accounting way, an accountant would look at it, yeah, you're getting paid for your Torah. You know how? You're saying how you're so holy that you're learning all day. And in exchange, you expect people to support you. So really, you're learning Torah for $20 an hour because that's what it costs to support you. So you're getting hana'ah in a weird way from Torah. And that is not good. Okay? And when the Rambam brings up the Isser about getting hana'ah from Torah, he immediately goes to the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that says, Amru Chachamim kol anena b'divrei Torah not l'chayev min ha'olam. If you benefit somehow from Torah, not properly, right? You take away your life from the world. Va'od tzivu va'amru al taseh matara li'isgadol ben v'lo kardom lachbar ba'en. Another Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that says you can't make the Torah your crown. You can't use it as like a stool, like a social climber, right? Someone who abuses people or items just to get a higher status, and you can't use it like a backhoe. Va'od tzivu va'amru ehavos hamalacha v'sanas harabanut. Wow, how about this Mishnah that says you should love work and hate rabbis? So that doesn't mean you literally have to hate a rabbi. It means hate being in a rabbinic position. Okay, a lot to talk about that line. We can't, but let's just focus on the first half, which says love working. And Torah that's not accompanied with work, in the end, you're going to end up sinning. Why? Because you're not going to be able to support yourself, and you're going to do something foolish, and you're going to regret not wanting to work and be able to make money. You may become a robber, right? Look what the Rambam says next. V'sof adam zeh sheyeh melastem es habrios. So had I prepared, I would actually been able to say that that's how the Rambam ends off by saying that you're going to end up becoming a robber by stealing from other people. And that is a no-no. So there is a warning that getting away from your duties of supporting yourself by masking it in I'm learning all day and all night and I need support, that is a no-no. Okay. And if that wasn't enough, okay, for all those interested in going to Kollel, look at number 11. Male gedolihi lemishahu misparnes mimasav yadav. It cannot be said enough about someone who is what they call getting a livelihood from your own hands. If you work and toil and make money, okay, on a 9 to 5 job, or the Rambam says 9 to 12, but however you want to call it, if you do your job and you make enough money to support yourself, there is no greater feeling knowing that you did it yourself and not through, Zaidi or grandma or the Gabbai Tzedakah or whomever. Okay, Umidas Chasidim Harishonim, it's a Midas Chasidus. And you get the honor and benefit of Olam Haza and Olam Haba. Shene'emar, Yigia Kapecha Ki Tochel Ashrecha V'Tovlach, a very famous pasuk in Tehillim that talks about Yigia Kapecha. Yigia Kapecha is things that you toil with your own hands. What the product, right? Like what we say, Yagaita Umatzata, right? The famous Gemara in Megillah Daf Vav that says that you can't compare something that you got because you work very hard for it. It's like studying, right? Like you study for 3 days for a test and you get an A, and then someone else doesn't study at all and they cheat and they get an A. Which one gets better satisfaction? All right, maybe you could even debate that answer, but okay. But for all those people, all those old timers out there, would understand that when you earn something yourself, and there's what we call yagia kapecha, right, of your benefit that you reap by doing it yourself, that's the ultimate. It's good, and it tovlach. So what's the double lashon? Ashrecha b'olam hazeh v'tovlach b'olam haba shekula tov. Right. This is how a couple of Gemaras end off. I think Moed Katan ends this way. Quotes this pasuk. It says Ashrecha, meaning in this world you'll be happy, and so too in the next world also Yom Shekula Tov, you will also be happy when you what they call when you eat what you kill. Right, what you take care of and you get, there is no better satisfaction than that when you are able to do that. Okay, we will continue tomorrow.
Thank you.